Hey guys, what's up? It's the Doctor of Violence, and in this video, I'm going to show you why the Joker is dividing us. It's been a bit of a roller coaster with the reactions from the Joker. It was beloved by cinephiles at the Venice Film Festival, critiqued by the media for its violence, and finally, enshrined at the altar of memedom. Joaquin Phoenix, who plays the Joker, has even stoked division over his performance. Some people think he's a budget Heath Ledger. Some a dope-ass psychopath. Regardless, Jared Leto is pissed. Now, I'm not going to get into a comparative battle of these performances. I loved Ledger's version, and I dug the heck out of JP's Joker. Different cinematic worlds beget different Jokers. Personally, I think he's a bit closer to Travis Bickle's Taxi Driver.
Stuck on this.
Except he doesn't save a prostitute. Nevertheless, I am here for the strong late 70s film references. We already talked about Taxi Driver, but I'm also talking King of Comedy. Heck, let's sprinkle it with a little Michael Douglas giving zero fucks and falling down. Bottom line, these characters have had it with the status quo, and I don't know about you, but that's relatable as fuck these days. While other comic book movies closely follow the comics, or some predetermined studio's desire for a happy ending after a justly fought campaign, in Phoenix's Joker, we are seeing something raw. He's giving us unbridled rage, not to mention some faboosh dancing. But enough of the vibes and the standing. More importantly, why is this film so goddamn polarizing? I propose that why we are unsettled is because we are super unresolved about society's relationship with violence. And this is something that was apparent in the 70s too. Travis Bickle came out of a time where the socioeconomic inequities were apparent, where foreign wars were dubious, where people were starting to question the benign meta-narrative of American politics. And this is a moment where history is repeating itself, where violence has eclipsed law in favor of carrying out the aims of certain government interests. But I digress.
You say what you really want to say.
Yeah.
And then you negate it.
Plainly speaking, we want to know why these acts of violence seem to arise out of nowhere. What are their motivations? What can be done to stop it? Because it's still pretty elusive. Which creates two things when we watch the Joker. One, the media scapegoats film violence and video games by throwing all the blame of economic inequity, loss, agency, violence, impotence into a basket labeled other, claiming that it's film violence which creates these monsters who are asocial and who commit atrocities and engage in violent acts. And two, because the Joker throws on screen a portrait of violence that is unhinged, unclear, anti-establishment, and not resolved, it creates chaos, and the people freak out when it's not restored. AKA, where's our grown man's Batman to restore order? Hello? Film doesn't like it when the baddie isn't punished. So, scapegoating film violence plus lack of a resolution, pathological violence, sans no Batman to restore order equals some fucked up reactions outside the cinema. And film traditionally holds a mirror up to society, but I think people these days just want to filter. And now is a brief theoretical interlude. German sociologist Max Weber style. Because society operates to an almost invisible form of violence, and this is explained by German sociologist Max Weber, who in his efforts to define government and the vocation of politics explained, the state holds a monopoly on the legitimate use of violence within a given territory. Or rather, Batman does, as is the case in the world of DC. And what unsettles us about the Joker is that we have a narcissistic, pathological character who, at the beginning of the story, lacks relevance, agency, and identity, and it is only when he starts to use violence that this void is filled. And this is not a good look for society. And that's where the media stops. It doesn't continue on with this journey, engage and applaud the fact that film is finally asking some serious questions about violence. Why is it used? What is its purpose? What is its origin? Let's just play the blame game. The Joker is a story about a man whose identity hinges on his use of violence, and by examining this journey, Can't we attempt to better understand the root causes of violence, at least in certain cases? This is not a story where the use of violence is designated to emulate. The Joker isn't cool. He's hurt. He's desperate. He's alone. He's been abandoned. And that's what makes him ultimately self-destructive. And that's where pathological violence lives, because pathological violence aims at destroying the other. Then it ends up destroying itself. So total destruction.
People are starting to notice.
So whereas something along the lines of criminal violence would aim at a particular thing, be used temporarily, e.g., I'm just using violence so I can rob a bank and get some cash, and when I get the money, I'm going to stop. Or on the flip-flop, we have state violence, which purports to be rational, adheres to limits. For example, Batman has a clear reason for using violence. It is to avenge the death of his parents. It is to restore Gotham to order. And we're already seeing seeds of this towards the end of the film. We're getting a setup of the innocence of a child versus the unhinged guilt of the Joker. So the split reaction to these films exemplifies the hysteria and chaos that is created by the use of violence, which does not conform to rationality, which does not aim at the good. We can get on board when violence aims at the enemy, when its retributive aspect is clearly delineated by a character who's only using it for a bit until the good life is restored again, until they get their purse back, blah, blah, blah. The Joker is not sane. The Joker is a movie. It's not saying this is a groovy-ass character who is #winning at life. This film is showing us what unbridled rage looks like, a disintegrating persona, how a total and utter lack of identity and agency can be substituted with violence.
All I have are negative thoughts.
Hannah Arendt once said that violence and power, although they often appear together, are opposites. And she was getting at the idea that the impotence of power breeds violence.
For my whole life, I didn't know if I even really existed. But I do.
And what we have with the Joker is a man who is impotent in the sense of having an effect on the world, who lacks agency, who is a man of no consequence. And it shows us that a dangerous substitution occurs when there's a lack of power, of control. When you have these macabre characters, there's usually a void. And so we should not focus on the mimesis argument of whether the cinematic representation of Joker on screen will beget violence. We should use it to examine the questions that his use of violence provokes, understanding the motivations behind the use of violence, its connection to identity and power. So not that we say, oh, this is good violence or this is bad violence, but so that we better understand why it's used, because it's used a lot. And I think this will help us prevent it. Film should hold up a mirror to societal issues in an effort to inspire discussion around violence. A mirror, not a filter. Okay, so that's my little ditty on the Joker. I didn't do any spoilers. I certainly didn't review the film, but I will say Joaquin Phoenix is bomb. Go investigate, go see the movie, but also hit subscribe, tap the notifications, and most importantly, please comment. I love talking to you, and I love hearing your ideas, your feedback. If you think it's shit, if you think I got it wrong, what do you think about the media? What did you think about the Joker? Hit me up. Hit me up internet-wise. XOXO, Doctor of Violence. Peace. Oh my God. Ah, yay. Then in this video, I'm going to explain why the Joker, can we start again? Hello. Marx loves you too.